Hello everyone and welcome back to Art Smart. This is Kevin Hogan. Today we're going to be talking about Mickey Mouse in black and white, part of the Walt Disney Treasures DVD collection. Now the one that I have here is actually volume 2 of this particular series. I have checked out volume 1 from the library. I've had to return it, but I do own volume 2 here. So I'll be showing you just a few things from here. Now with all of these Walt Disney Treasures sets that you get, you have this, of course, box here, which is pretty nice, and you have 2 discs for the DVD. This is part of the packaging that I just kind of stick in here when you take off the plastic. And you also get these. You get a booklet that gives you kind of a brief rundown of certain information along with a few pictures. And you come with this certificate, which is nice. And here's the actual booklet for this. Believe it or not, actually, this one is from the library of Volume 1, and I accidentally forgot to turn it back in. So I tried turning it back in. They said, don't worry about it. So this is Volume 1's paperwork, and this is Volume 2. So that's why this looks a little nicer. This is from the library. But anyway, it's a 2-disc collection for both sets. Now, let me give you just a brief rundown of whether or not you should go ahead and buy them. The definite benefit of Volume 1 is you're going to get some of the better Disney black and white Mickey cartoons. What Leonard Maltin, I think, did for the first set was he really picked the kind of highlights of the series and presented those cartoons. And they really are some of the better cartoons from the Mickey Mouse in black and white series. When it comes to Volume 2, you definitely have less in the way of really quality cartoons, at least in my opinion. There's a lot of cartoons in Volume 2, which is singing and dancing, Mickey, grabbing objects from around them and turning it into musical instruments. Stuff that, quite frankly, is a little boring for most people. It is interesting, though, on another level, though. In Volume 2, you definitely get some rarer cartoons that you don't get to see a ton on the Disney Channel or released on previous DVD or videotape collections. You get a pretty good variety of different things in Volume 2. There are special features on both discs. I find both collections to be somewhat underwhelming in the material that they have. You have a lot of just kind of still gallery stuff, which is fine, but again, it's not the most exciting stuff in the world. You do get an interview on Mickey's portrait artist, which is kind of filler if you're asking me. I do like on volume 2 where they show you a collector's collection of early black and white Mickey Mouse material, which I think is pretty cool. There are some basic documentaries just showing you how Mickey Mouse didn't really start having color cartoons until 1935, when it became financially viable for Disney to start adding color. Before then, the cartoons were so popular there was no reason to have them in color. And you do have in the first disc an interview with Frank and Ollie. Those two animators, Frank Thomas and Ollie Johnson, are famous within the Disney realms for animating on all kinds of stuff, and it's always good to hear from them and hear a little bit of what they have to say. But in general, other than that, there's not a whole lot in the way of really interesting special features. There is a Easter egg on Volume 1 that tells you a little bit about Mickey Mouse clubs that jumped up in the early 30s, which is, I guess, kind of cool. But again, it's a little light. But I will say that when you are looking at this early part of the Walt Disney Treasures waves of DVDs, they were still kind of developing the idea of the series, and they got better with their extra special features later on. One other criticism is a lot of people have stated that the quality of these DVDs is really no better than the quality that was released on Laserdisc a few years prior. I do not have a Laserdisc player, but this particular DVD that I have here from a bootleg provider shows me all kinds of Laserdisc transfers, and I gotta admit that it's pretty similar in quality. However, in my opinion, when you were looking at cartoons that were made in the late 1920s and early 1930s, there's only so much that you can really do with them. If you make it too crisp and too clean, honestly, the cartoons just start looking weird. Older cartoons should look slightly older. And I'm okay with the fact that they basically kind of have the same quality of film that they had on Laserdisc, and they're just transferring it to DVD. It doesn't bother me, but there are some people that really like everything to be perfectly crisp and clean, and they don't like the fact that Disney didn't do a whole lot more with the cartoons after they had them previously released in the 90s on Laserdisc. So if that's big to you, maybe you want to skip these. To me, it's not a huge deal. So would I recommend them for the cartoons? Volume 1 is the most entertaining, and if you are an average Disney fan, I would get Volume 1. If you are somebody who is more of an animation historian kind of person, both of them are fine, especially Volume 2, though, gives you a little bit more insight, I think, into what Disney was working on in the series and how the Mickey Mouse series developed. So I would recommend them, but again, if you are not a huge fan of animation history, I would probably skip Volume 2. You will probably be bored. Hopefully this makes you a little bit more art smart and a little bit more cartoon friendly. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.